Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Culture Damage, and it is a beautiful day here in Clearwater Studios. Here live at the Chief Wahoo Studios in beautiful Clearwater, Florida. We got a lot to talk about today, leaning a little bit more on sports today and less on politics. I believe everybody probably got their dose of politics this past week for the State of the Union address. Dan, did you watch the State of the Union?
I was going to watch it. I had it planned. I had it on my calendar. I had it on my watch. Everything was all set. And then I decided to watch a show about vampires.
Okay, so your priorities are straight. I see. I actually did.
What about you?
I did not watch it. I had to work. As you know, I have a trivia company. So I had to, we had a big theme movie night at one of our clients' bars, which is the Stilt House Brewery over in Palm Harbor. So we did a big movie night over there, had a huge turnout, so I went over there to help out. So I didn't get to watch it. I did see some of the responses and some of the statistics and some of the claims from the State of the Union, and I was not surprised. But I hear he did read a good speech, and for that, I give him props.
I heard absolutely nothing about it. I looked up nothing about it, and I paid as much attention to this State of the Union address as I have the past 20 or so.
Well, so. I've actually watched just about every State of the Union for about the past 15 years. I am a nerd. That's the type of stuff that I do enjoy watching. Even during the Bush years, I always watched the State of the Union because I thought that he always delivered a very good speech, especially the one right after, the one that I remember the most ever. Even though that I worked for Obama, I actually, the most impressionable State of the Union that I remember, and these date back all the way to Reagan, really, was George W. Bush's State of the Union right after 9/11. It was very moving, and you could tell that it was a passionate speech. It was real, and it really just called everybody to come together after that happened. And I thought that was the one that I remembered the most. Mm-hmm. But they're all pretty interesting. It's a production. It's a circus. They're clapping every couple of minutes. The other party's cringing,
scowling.
They hate to be there. But that would suck to have to sit there and listen to the agenda that you don't support. But the spin afterwards is just the worst.
Well, that's I have no. I'm sure I have watched the State of the Union, or at least part of it, at least when my parents were alive, because I know they thought it was important. But all the concussions that I've had over the years, thankfully, has erased that from my memory and has left more room for more things that are more important to me, at least. They might not be more important, but to me they are.
Why have you had so many concussions? Can you explain that?
Well, there was once this time I was bounced off of a trampoline in Huntington. We had a trampoline that had a couple holes in it, so we thought we'd duct tape it up.
Well, these were your fraternity days.
Yes, they were, but it was not at the fraternity house. I wish I could say that, because this was actually my own decision, and my brother and fraternity brother, Ryan Albertson, my big brother. But Ryan is the one who actually bounced me off the trampoline, and I hit my head on the concrete. I got up, but I also played rugby and soccer, and so, you end up, there's no helmets in those sports. Not that helmet would help, but, so quite a few. Wow.
That's interesting. I know you were a teak, and we used to say if you can't go Greek, go teak. That's what. They are no longer at Marshall University.
We were too cool.
Yeah, they were too cool for school. So. They were kicked off of campus. A little bit of controversy in sports, as always. We hear a lot about the Redskins changing their name.
Not changing their name.
Well, not changing their name. They did lose their their copyright for the logo and the name. Great spoof on South Park about that. I don't know if you ever had a chance to see that, but a great thing on South Park. But there's recently been an announcement by the Cleveland Indians that they are no longer using the Chief Wahoo logo and that they will be going to the Block C. So we had a little bit of a poll on our website today, and we've gotten some responses. Most people say that Chief Wahoo should remain. But what do you think?
Well, this is one of those issues that really I struggle with as a, I don't know about if I say it as a conservative or something, but just as I hate to see some things change, like classic things. So this is one of those things that I really do, I like to keep things more traditional. I don't like upgrades of, logos and all these things. But, this one is pretty, I've listened to a lot of people say, and, we look at the Indian logo and it is a caricature. And, some of I've heard it been related to the old Sambo logo that they used to have of a black child in the South.
Yeah.
And so with the exaggerated lips and eyes and, this logo kind of does that similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
some of the same characteristics in the cartoon.
I hate to be the politically correct one, but this is one of those ones that's probably, but it's hard. I mean, this is one of the, it looks like a friendly, friendly, nice guy,
Does he? It looks kind of creepy to me.
It looks kind of friendly.
I don't know if you guys would see this logo, but he has a huge grin on his face, first of all. Huge grin. He's so happy to be in this picture with the part in his hair, the headband, and the red feather, which recently I've been educated a little bit on this recently, that is actually an eagle war feather that shows that you've fought and been injured in war.
So kind of like a Purple Heart.
It's kind of like a Purple Heart, yeah, for a Native American. I mean, the first thing that's wrong with this is that they call them the Indians, and they're not from India. I mean, and we still call them Indians. That's how offensive we are to these people, is that we still call them Indians, because when we first came here, and I say we, but when people first came here and they saw these people of a different, darker color, they thought that they were Indians because they thought they were going to India. And so we still, to this day, call them Indians, even though they're not
you do.
Indians.
I and most of the conservative side of the spectrum call them Native Americans.
Oh yeah, you guys are very sensitive ones. I tell you what, that's the first problem. But looking at this, I know people hate change, and especially in sports, because in baseball, especially, it's very traditional, and we don't want to change any of the rules or anything because we want to keep the statistics even, and that's what we had talked about the drugs last week.
Yeah, we also want to, people have this. There's generations of people that have grown up going to baseball games, fathers, mothers taking their sons and daughters to games, and they remember going to that game, and they wore that that Cleveland Indian shirt or that hat, and they wanted to have this the same experience. And so I think there's a lot of that, with statistics, but also tradition in baseball, and as it goes back so long. And the Indians, it's not like the Indians were around, they are not a newer team, but they weren't one of the original teams in baseball or anything, but still, it's hard to see things change.
Like, my grandfather used to take me to the Klan meetings, and, they were a lot of fun, and, I just hate that we can't do that anymore.
You did grow up in the western part of Virginia, right?
It was just really just a really traditional bonding moment. You know what? Hey, it might have been classic. It might have even been acceptable back then. And a lot of people think it's acceptable now. But, sometimes things got to change. Being politically correct is considered a bad word now. But it often, sometimes, let's just say, sometimes it's important to at least recognize how you're treating other people. Is that such a bad thing? And I mean, can it go overboard? Yeah, absolutely, it can go overboard. I mean, we can go way too far with this stuff, and I think we often do. But this Indian thing, that's I mean, there's really not too many people to complain because we literally killed almost all the Indians off. So there's not a whole lot of people to complain. But I would understand if someone who'd been treated that way for hundreds of years thought maybe this might be a bad idea.
Well, and I think part of the controversy or part of the reluctance on this is it's like people have this, people in the majority there's always this like, all right, well, how many people in the minority have to matter or have to care before the majority really cares about them, and what they think.
Right.
And, this is, one of those things like, and this is the argument that you always hear. Well, how many people really don't like the Indians, and what percentage of people really have a problem with this? And if one person complains, does that mean that we need to change, everything that we're doing? And so I think, there's that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily in this particular instance, but that's the slippery slope. And I think the one that the political correct, or people who are worried about extreme political correctness, That's their major, I think, concern with this whole thing.
No, absolutely. There are people who bitch and moan at just about everything, and they're offended by everything.
The Fighting Irish, because the Irish aren't always fighters. They do drink a lot, but they don't always fight.
Hey, do they though? Yeah, they probably do.
But again, I mean, that's the same kind of
example. It is a good example. But there's also other examples. There's the Redskins. Now one thing that we're talking about now is that we are debating the logo, whether or not the logo is offensive. But is the name offensive? So because you've got the logo and you've got the name, and then you've got kind of the advertising and the marketing scheme that teams use with this is what is offensive. So, the Redskins, that name is being argued as whether or not it's offensive or not. And so, I used to live in D.C., and it seems like there everyone was against changing it because of, like what you said, it was a tradition. They don't want to change anything. That's our team. They have their song, Hail to the Redskins.
And if it's been good for 80 years, then why do we have to change it now?
Yeah, why is it all of a sudden offensive now, but it wasn't offensive then?
Overnight.
How about it was offensive then, but these people just weren't empowered to speak up and say anything at that point because they were afraid that something might happen to them. But now they're empowered a little bit, and they're speaking up and saying, hey, why are you making fun of our culture with your sports teams? And I know that the argument is that we're not making fun of you, we're honoring you. But are you really honoring anybody with this cheesy Chief Wahoo that has this shit-eating grin on his face and these big ears?
It is probably, but come on. Now, what would the movie, what was the movie with the Indians in it? I can't believe I forgot. Major League. Come on, now.
I thought you meant like real Indians.
No.
I thought you didn't say Indians. You mean the Native
Major League. No, the Cleveland. They are the Cleveland Indians. Maybe in 2020 they will be the Cleveland Native Americans, but for right now the team is still called the Cleveland Indians. So
you do say Indians.
I do. I do not refer to the people of this country as Indians.
I accept your apology.
No apology at all.
I accept your apology.
There was no apology.
Major League. Go ahead.
No, well, the movie just wouldn't have been the same without Chief Wahoo and the guy out there beating the drums and all that kind of stuff.
Would that really have changed the movie?
Are we going to call that racist because the guy's out there beating drums in center field?
I don't know if it's racist.
Wearing a headband or something,
say
or headgear?
It doesn't offend me. I'm not Native American.
Well, nothing offends you. I mean, you walk around with swastikas and crosses, upside down crosses, and
that is
voodoo
slanderous.
Dolls and all these kind of pointy hats.
That's slanderous.
Dressing up like a ghost.
Hey, you're the alt-right.
On Christmas?
I'm the alt-left. So we have different ones though. We have the Edmonton Eskimos is a team. Edmonton Eskimos.
That's true.
I wonder if anybody's offended by that one. Now some college teams did change their names.
Wow.
But the pro teams have been more reluctant to do so.
Now, I can give you... Now, do we know why these college teams are changing their names?
Well, I know that... Well, it's because it was considered offensive.
Well, that's not really why they changed.
Okay.
Money talks. And remember, most of these universities are public universities whose funding can be tied to...
So you're saying that these billionaire Native Americans were withholding their money as alumni?
No. But as state institutions, as most of these universities are, or receiving state or federal funds for education, they fall under other pressures of the federal government and other
I think that's
things that would cause them to
I think
change.
That's definitely true. And as an institution of higher learning, is that the message that we want to send? However,
they just buy off the Native American populations, like maybe the Seminoles or others have made deals with groups that say,
well, that's one. That there's another sub-argument there is whether or not if you're naming your team after a particular tribe of people, is that offensive as opposed to just naming something after a particular race of people? I mean, it's less generalizing, right? You're at least...
A little bit.
So the Seminoles really wouldn't be as offensive as, say, the Orangemen of Syracuse.
I don't know. Who are the Orangemen?
Well, they changed
supposed
that.
to be Native Americans?
That was supposed to be Native American.
How long ago was that? I've always known them as an orange.
Well, that was their hiding it. Basically, they up in New York, they're a little bit more progressive.
It makes more sense, but I never actually knew that.
Well, they're now called the Orange, but they were the Orangemen for a long time.
Oh, I thought they still were the Orangemen.
But they changed it to the Orange because Orangeman was an Indian. See, we can't even decide what color their skin is.
Do they grow oranges up there?
They don't, but they apparently they
that.
grew Native Americans up there, so they called them the Orangemen. But they still have the big orange guy.
That's what I mean. That's why I always thought, like, why?
So you thought they grew oranges in New York?
No, I know they don't. I don't understand why an orange was their mascot.
Well, I'm glad we could make this an educational session for you as well.
I mean, oranges don't grow much north of Gainesville.
They do not. So they were the Orangemen, but they changed their name to the Orange. Miami University in Ohio, which people in Ohio hate when you say Miami of Ohio. Because they were...
Well, that's like the second or third of Miami.
Well, they were actually the first Miami.
Yeah.
So...
allegedly.
No,
allegedly.
You could look that up right now on your Apple computer if you'd like. But Miami has been around for a long time. They've actually produced United States presidents.
But was it an incorporated city or it's like a town?
It's
Miami
is the name of the university. It's in Oxford. It's in Oxford, Ohio. But it's named after the Miami
Sounds like
tribe.
Copycatters there. They have Oxford, Ohio, Miami, Ohio.
Yes.
Like they're just, what is there, a Paris, Ohio nearby? London, Ohio?
Okay, so where did Miami of Florida get its name? Can you tell me that?
Cuba.
Really? Okay, yeah.
And until you
alternate facts. Yes. Wow.
As soon as I get my communicate from Cuba, I will show you how.
This is the America that we live in now. You can just seriously just make stuff up and stand in front of Congress.
They had more people watching the Miami game than ever before.
Yeah, it was
in history.
Record crowd there. Never has anyone seen such an awesome season this year.
Dude, nobody has ever voted on a poll like they voted on our poll.
Hey, you keep your poll to yourself. I can tell you right now that Miami of Ohio was around long before, but they changed their name. They were the Redmen, and they changed their name to the Red Hawks. The Redmen of St. John's are known as what now?
I have no idea.
They are the Red Storm.
The Red Storm.
They are the Red Storm now. Several colleges changed, but William and Mary's want to be noted. They didn't change their name. William and Mary is a very
they're a private school, though, aren't they?
I don't know, actually.
So.
It probably is. It's a very prestigious academic school.
Sounds very hoity-toity.
But they adjusted their name. They're the Tribe.
Tribe.
But their logo, they removed the feather.
Kind of sounds Jewish. You know, a lot of Jews refer to people of the Jewish faith to be a member of the tribe.
Really?
So, well, you know, remember back in the biblical days, you have the tribes of and all that kind of stuff that go on. And so,
do I remember? Of course I don't remember.
Well, I guess as a Jewish person, it's all in my blood. You know, like we have like blood memories of all this stuff. And so we know each other, by the way. Did you know that?
Well, tell me this.
Actually, we don't.
I'm going to sound really mightily stupid here asking this question, but... If you're Jewish, it's a religion. So I can convert to Judaism. Am I correct?
I'm not sure we're going to let you in, but you can
very
try.
Jewish noise that you make when you don't think something's true. Okay, so is that racist?
It's Yiddish. No, I don't know.
But is it racist or is it religious discrimination? I don't understand. Is Judaism a race or a religion?
Well, it has become somewhat of a muddled situation. So... Because you'll even hear, I remember when, was it not Joe Biden, who was the other, somebody's grandmother was Jewish or something.
I'm sure there's a lot of people's grandmas are Jewish.
No, I know, but it was not a big, but it was just one of those things that people referred to it as like, I have Jewish blood or something, or I have this, and it's not really a thing. Yeah,
that always confused me because I was like, if I convert to Judaism, am I going to start to develop physical characteristics of a Jewish person?
Your nose will start
You said that.
My brother has the nose.
You said
my
that.
brother has the nose. My dad had the nose. But really, my dad is Russian, though.
Sure, Russian Jews.
Yes, but, you know, the area, it wasn't really Russian. I mean, even that's a little bit of a gray area because really it was somewhere between the Poland and Russian areas. And depending on what war was going on and who was doing better, depending on what country that location was. But, you know, those tribes that left Israel, some of them went into Asia and the Eurasian continent and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, Russian Jews could be actually related to Middle Eastern because typically that is a Middle Eastern feature, the nose, not necessarily a Jewish thing. But most people in the United States aren't familiar.
I don't think that William and Mary was referring to Jewish people when they came up with their logo because they have a big feather in their logo. And I know that your people aren't. Well, you're not feather people.
Maybe it's about time that we do have a team named after, like a Jewish named team.
It's funny you brought that up because I've got
the rabbis.
I've got some new team suggestions that I'd like to see.
Let's hear a couple.
I'd like to see if you like these, and maybe even some marketing schemes too. So we have first the Jacksonville Jews.
There's no Jews in Jacksonville.
Well, no,
that's
there's no Native Americans in Cleveland.
I'm probably sure there's a few. Like, there's no Jews in Jacksonville.
There are more Jews in Jacksonville than there are Native Americans in Cleveland. I used to live in Jacksonville. Trust me. Yeah, you keep your noise to yourself.
Now in Huntington, there were 3, maybe 4. 3 of them were teaks, though.
There were actually 3 or 4.
Allegedly, I didn't see their cards.
There were churches there.
There are no Jewish churches. Those
there
are.
Right
they're called temples or synagogues.
Okay, you know what I meant. But yes, you're taking things out of whack again. I don't like when you do that. You're being very Trumpish tonight. How about the Pittsburgh?
I'm being a leader. That's what I'm doing.
How about the Pittsburgh Polacks?
The Poles. I could go with the Poles. Polak. Polak.
It's like Redskin and Polak. I want to honor the Polish people.
Yeah, but I don't know that Polak has ever been like an honorable term.
Has Redskin?
I think it may have been.
Honorable.
Yes.
A red skin.
Yes. It's a description.
It's a very literal description.
It's a description.
It's not.
So if we want to call the Polacks, well, see, they're Polish people are like every other white person.
The Pittsburgh Palefaces.
That's okay.
Pittsburgh Palefaces. That'll work. Okay.
Well, because it doesn't really matter what color you are. Because, like, in Pittsburgh, you are going to be paler than anybody else of the same race because, like, you can't go outside because it's so cold. So even a person who might be an African-American, if they live in Florida, they're probably going to be a little darker because they're in the sun. As opposed to, look, I got off the plane in Chicago, and I thought I was white. Oh.
There's a town with a lot of Polish folks.
These people are white. Yes.
The only reason I put Pittsburgh is because there really aren't that many Polish people in Pittsburgh, and they both start with P's. So it's got
Pumpernickel starts with a P too.
It does. It could be the Pittsburgh Pumpernickels.
That'd be kind of neat.
I'm not sure what that means besides bread. All right, let's move on. The next one, and you're gonna like this one. All right, you ready? Wait for it. The Cincinnati Slant Eyes.
No, now you're just being ridiculous.
No,
these are just racial.
You remember those hand drums that they used in Karate Kid 2, where they go like this, and they have a little drum and it has the strings.
Party favors. Yes.
Their fans could use those, and they could be the Cincinnati Slant Eyes.
Yeah, you can't be the Slant Eyes.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's nothing different than the Redskins.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Hey,
Redskin sounds tougher
because you're used to it.
Hogs.
Redskin. Well, ask people who are attacked by samurais if that sounds like an intimidating thing to see.
But not all samurais have to necessarily have slanted eyes. You could have an American.
Yeah, that's right. Tom Cruise was a samurai.
See?
He was the last samurai.
That's right. He did not have slanted eyes.
Very good point. I stand corrected on that one. Hey, listen. Redskin is a description of skin. Slant eye is a description of eye. It's the same thing. But it's more acceptable. We'll agree to disagree. It's more acceptable in Washington, D.C. than it is in Cincinnati, apparently. How about the Washington Wops?
I don't know. What the heck is a WAP?
It means without papers. That's what they used to call. It was a derogatory term.
Well, why are we using derogatory terms?
Because redskin is a derogatory term.
This again.
It has always been a derogatory term.
I don't know. I'm going to have to, we're going to have to do some research, and I want to do some historical research.
Well, this was your idea. You should have been looking that up anyway.
No. I was going to talk about the Indians. You brought up the Redskins.
Oh. Okay. Here's a good one. Number 7. The Sacramento Crack-Ass Crackus. I like that one. And fans could wear sweater vests.
But see, now you're involving drugs. Come on. You can't have drugs in
why
sports.
Is there drugs?
You said crack.
No, cracker. Like a cracker. You're a cracker. You're a white cracker. Crack-ass cracker.
There's really Florida crackers.
And they could call themselves the Cacks because they're
I think you got to be in Florida. Like if this was like the Lakeland crackers, then it would make sense.
I think that you've been out of the game for a long time, brother. I think cracker is the new honky. All right, I don't think you need.
Yeah, but it's really a Southern thing, so it really should. Now, if you said, like I said, if you said like the Lakeland crackers,
okay, tell me this,
or the Sarasota crackers,
explain the Utah Jazz.
They moved from New Orleans.
Okay, explain the Washington Redskins.
There were lots of Native
not.
Americans in the Washington area way back in the day.
They started in Boston, so you're wrong anyway. They started as the Boston Braves.
There were Native Americans in Boston too.
There's Native Americans everywhere.
Well,
are they invisible? Because I don't see them anywhere.
You need to go look. You need to look a little. Maybe change up your friends. Not have as many white friends. Huh?
Yeah, right. I tell you what. I want you to introduce me to a Native American and open up my world. The Minnesota Mix. The mascot is a pope.
I don't know what a mick is.
It's a term
of endearment. Lot of derogatory terms. It's
a term of endearment for an Irish person. And for full disclosure, this is satire because I am telling you how ridiculous it is to have a Native American as a logo. It's just as ridiculous as these, and there's no difference. Yeah. So these are suggestions that may seem appropriate to you because you think
the Brooklyn Rabbis.
The Brooklyn Rabbis. I think that one's kind of racist. I think you should.
That would be an awesome one. I think
you should walk that one back.
I would have a T-shirt. I think it would be lots of Jew pride. We could walk around with Stars of David on our sleeves or something. Didn't you make that?
But not tattoos, though, right? The tattoos might go a little.
Maybe
far.
Our Social Security numbers.
Ooh. I'm getting away from this one. You're Jewish, you can say that. I can't be a part of it. As long as they're acidic, though, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the look is kind of cool. Actually, maybe they should have that look while they're playing. Because when I was in Brooklyn, or not Brooklyn, Coney Island, it was actually kind of an interesting thing because I never growing up and living in Seminole, Largo, Clearwater. There's not a very strong Hasidic Jewish population here. So seeing the Hasidic Jews and seeing them run was kind of interesting. Like going for a jog, wearing their hat, the hair, dress shirts,
long pants. Are you
insinuating
that Jews rarely run?
No, but I don't know. Well, actually, no, I don't think a lot of them do. Because a lot of...
I'm allowing you to
I think actually a lot of them do not.
Yes. Not an athletic
I don't recall very many people in Sunday school talking about going to work out in the gym after Sunday school. Or Hebrew school. Or confirmation class. Confirmation class, I was actually in high school.
There's not a lot of Jews in the NBA, except for the owner.
That is true. There aren't a lot of Jewish athletes around.
I say
the
owner,
world.
I meant commissioner.
Yes.
The commissioner.
Well, I'm sure actually most of the owners are probably Jewish too, so don't worry about it.
Why do you think that is?
That's the stereotype. Everybody thinks that the Jews own sports and all the media channels.
Would you be okay with Kentucky kikes?
What exactly is a kite?
I don't know.
I think it's German. It's like a Nazi, I think.
Well, same as Kentucky. I mean, what's the difference?
I'd probably say no. I mean, partly I really dislike Nazis, so I have no problem with it, but I think it might refer to Germans in general, so I don't have any problem with the Germans.
Well, then you might like this one.
I'd probably say no.
You might like this one then. The Alberto alt-rights.
Alberto?
They have foam tiki torches in the crowd.
As long as they don't have those little white... As long as they don't have white pointy hats on, I think it's okay.
Alt-right. So let me get this straight. You're okay with alt-rights, but you don't like Nazis.
There's a big difference between the alt-right and Nazis.
Yes.
Really? Yes, there is a big difference.
Why don't you begin to explain?
Let's talk about 10 million dead people, all right? That's where that discussion starts and ends. No more comparing people to Nazis.
Tennessee towelheads.
I wouldn't. It's unfortunate that people have, because I think it would be kind of a cool look. But, we probably can't go with that one.
And the crowd can yell,
No, I mean, I wasn't even going there. I just thought it was a cool, like when women take a shower and they wrap their hair up. That's what I was thinking. And I've never seen a woman or heard a woman go when they got their hair up in the towel.
Yeah.
They have those towels.
You've never lived, brother.
No, you remember those towels? I don't know. They have like a thing that you can like stick a blow dryer in to blow dry the woman's hair.
Wouldn't be acceptable, would it?
No.
How about the Harlem Honkies?
Honkies in Harlem, huh? I don't know. There's like the Black Honkies. So if you can have a music group,
it's a local band.
Well, I'm just saying, if you can have the Black Honkies, why can't we have the Harlem Honkies? Sure, I'm okay with that.
They should change the Globetrotters to the Harlem Honkies. And then the logo could be like a guy in a tie, late for work, with his briefcase, and he's like on Wall Street, and he's running.
Maybe we like the Manhattan. What were we talking about here? What was the team name?
Why are the Jacksonville Jaguars the Jaguars? There's no Jaguars in Jacksonville.
Florida Panthers, they're pretty much a Jaguar.
A Panther's not a Jaguar.
Pretty much the same thing. Big cat, big teeth.
So
eat Chris Parker.
All right. I do have some alternative names that might feel the same. So we have teams like the.
You prepare an awful lot.
I'm always prepared. I'm an attorney, and if you would like to hire me, I'll be prepared as your attorney. Law Office Chris Parker PLLC. You can call me at 727-469-3012. I am not racist, and I will try hard on your case, and I will.
And he promises not to wear his pointy white hat.
And I just want everybody to know that I am telling you these names that I just read off because I think they're just the ones like the Redskins and the Indians are just as ridiculous as the ones I just read.
What about the Chiefs?
It's just the
Kansas City Chiefs.
I think they should change their name to lighten it, to take the edge off, and they should be the Kansas City Chief of Staffs.
That is about one of the most terrible ideas I've ever heard.
But it's not offensive anymore, and Chief of Staffs could be very powerful. I mean, look at Lance Priebus, or whatever his name was. He was a very powerful man. Major Kelly's a very powerful man. There are chiefs of staffs all over the country that wield the types of power that you and I will never see. That's intimidating, man.
No, it's not. Not at all.
No? You don't think so?
No. I would just throw coffee on them and then he'd run away and
cry. Here's another one. This one will take the edge off, too. The Washington Redskin Potatoes. And I even got a logo for you.
Yes, I saw something. I heard this discussion one time before, and it's another one of your terrible ideas.
Why are you so quick to shoot down my ideas?
That's what I do all day. That's what we do every
time
we talk.
You know why my ideas are bad? Because they're not your ideas.
That's a big reason. That is a big reason why.
This is black and white. I apologize, but what you'll see here
we have to pay more to print color copies, so we do black and white.
Redskin potato, and you got a little parsley coming down there, so you can still keep the same.
I think they get it.
We have a delay, so I can't see if it worked out or not.
Well, it's going to be up there for like 30 seconds.
All right. So as I'm talking and you can see the Redskin potato, that wouldn't be as offensive because Redskins potatoes can't talk.
But it doesn't, I don't know if I like, I mean, I guess if you show up to the game, instead of like those little hog heads, they can just put like potatoes on their heads.
Mr. Potato Heads.
Like a cheese, like those stupid ass cheese heads in Green Bay with the blocks of cheese on their head.
Mr. Potato Head.
That's all we eat. Are people walking around with foam potatoes on their head.
That's what we tremendous. Need. Too bad they're not in Idaho. All right, here's another one. All right. So we've been talking about the Cleveland Indians. Mm-hmm. Why about instead of the Cleveland Indians, they could be the Cleveland Indianapolis 500 race cars?
I am not even going to dignify that with a response.
Well, you ever heard those engines rev up before they get started? That puts the hairs on your back up, man. That will put the hair on your back.
The Daytona 500 is in February. Are you going to go?
I try to stay out of race-related events.
Mr. Parker is not a true Southerner.
I am not.
On the other hand,
I'm not a race fan. I'm sure
NASCAR fan.
I'm sure that shocks everyone. Yeah, Dan talks about it just all day.
My boy Brad Keselowski and Jimmy Johnson. I didn't much like Jeff Gordon, but Kevin Harvick and all the other fellas. My fellas.
I kind of liked Bo and Luke. They were from the Duke
yes,
boys.
with your rebel flag on your rebel flag car. Yeah. It's all coming out now. It's all coming out.
I had the big wheel. Dukes of Hazzard big wheel.
Yeah,
it didn't have the horn on it, but it had a brake, it had a handbrake, and it had the little rebel flag hanging off the back of it. Had no idea what it meant.
Did you put those little swastika stickers on the front?
I just like the Duke boys. You like the Duke boys, too. If you say you didn't, you're lying.
I was more into Daisy, but that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. The Daisy Dukes. Okay, how about this one to take the edge off? The Chicago Blackhawk Helicopters.
No, I like the Blackhawks, though. Well, actually, you could keep the same name.
Yeah.
And then just change the logo. So you don't have to call them the Helicopters. But you can just call them the Blackhawks and then just change it to a helicopter, though.
Yeah, okay. So we finally found some common ground.
That would be because it's cool. Because the black... No, I don't do touching.
You're not going to shake my hand?
No, sir. No, sir. No touching.
See,
no touching.
This is literally an example of
no
why
touching.
we can't reach across the aisle because the other side doesn't reach back. That's exactly the problem.
You don't have to touch people to compromise.
If you saw how dirty Dan lives, you would know that
germs.
It's more of a worry to me than it is to him. But as a show of respect and compromise, because we agreed on something, I was willing to literally reach across the table, and it was not.
I heard you coughing and hacking and all this other stuff, and sniffling.
I am not sick.
Today, tomorrow you can come in here barely able to breathe, and today would have been the contagion day.
Would you allow me to take a video camera through your truck and let me put it online?
Oh, there's lots of personal stuff in there. I would not.
It's because it's filthy.
Well, it could have some stuff in it.
The Edmonton Eskimo Kisses.
What are Eskimo kisses?
You've never had an Eskimo kiss where you rub noses? It's like that.
What the... God, thank God we have... I don't want to have to push I don't want to have to say explicit lyrics otherwise.
If anyone's listening... Can you tell us whether or not you've heard of Eskimo kisses?
Well, now I've heard of it, but I mean, I can't believe what you actually just did on air. Like you actually did, like you were actually pretending to rub noses with the microphone.
A little Eskimo kiss. Hey, look, I'm happy with myself in my skin. I'm not concerned of what Dan thinks of me, so don't worry about that one. The last one's kind of gross, so I'm definitely going to say it. The Florida State Seminal Fluid.
No. You have some terrible ideas.
No,
they're just terrible.
You keep seminal, but you just add fluid.
No.
And would you want to make contact with seminal fluid?
No, I didn't want to shake your hand. No.
So that's intimidating. That's scary.
No, it's not scary. I don't want to be in the same building with seminal fluid.
Well, that's what makes it intimidating. You don't want to be in our building? You're scared of us?
No, like a Blackhawk. That's intimidating.
They're actually meant to be people, Blackhawks.
I thought we were just talking about helicopters.
No, the helicopter. I thought we didn't agree on that. You wouldn't shake my hand on it. All right, so let's go to our top. Oh, we also forgot the Atlanta Bravehearts.
Can we just call them the Scots? So, what if we call them the Scots?
We're trying to keep.
Would that be? And they had a guy in a kilt or something. Would that be offensive if we called them the Scots?
You'd have to ask someone from Scotland, and if I was,
I'm sure you're partially.
If
Scottish.
I was from Scotland, I wouldn't tell you.
You probably are partially Scottish. You look like it.
That's racist.
I'm pretty sure I've seen you wearing dresses around.
I am actually 89% Asian.
Oh, you think so, huh?
I don't. Yeah, I did the ancestry thing. I sent.
Did you say ancestry thing?
That's a West Virginia shot across the bow. All right, listen, all you West Virginians listening out here. Just remember, Dan just accused us of incest.
Actually, I do not recall the term West Virginians being used in that phrase because I am half West Virginian. If we're going to start calling Jewish people, a race, West Virginians can be a race too. So I'm half West Virginian.
Well, at least you're half smart.
Yeah, the other half.
A couple of other schools have decided not to change. And Illinois is a state institution,
Fighting Illini,
but they are still the Fighting Illini. But they removed their mascot, who was Chief Wahoo or whatever.
Weenie Whacker?
Weenie Whacker. He used to dance around. As a white guy dressed up as an Indian, he used to dance around in his tribal dance. And they said enough of that. You can't do that anymore. Bradley and Alcorn State, both schools stopped using Native American mascots but returned to their Braves nickname. But to note, Utah is still the Utes.
What's a Ute?
A Ute, I believe, was a tribe in the Utah area where the name came from. Might be pulling that out of my butt, but you can look that one up.
Well, let's hope that's the only thing you're pulling out of your butt today.
I know that the Chippewas from Central Michigan are still the Chippewas.
Dude, this video of me, I can't believe people are having to look at my head like this. This is terrible.
That's the way your head looks all the time, by the way. Florida State Seminoles are still Mississippi College of the Choctaws.
I have no idea.
Choctaw. So those are the names. Are there any other names that you find offensive in the league, or any other?
What do you find any of these names offensive, to be honest.
Well, it's because they're not about you.
Well, everything should be about.
It's your lack of compassion, is what
lack
makes
of compassion.
See,
compassion makes you weak. Weakness.
Like crying.
Don't
Chuck.
show weakness.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a short
like you and your Eskimo kisses.
Dan. The ladies love Eskimo kisses. They love Eskimo kisses. Not that you would know that. But
too bad you're usually giving Eskimo kisses to what's his name, Duncan.
Oh, I give my Duncan Eskimo kisses.
You give your Duncan French kisses.
No. He's not a Frenchie. He is a Boston. So I give him little Boston kisses. All right, we're getting out of line here. Let's take a break.
Got some Super Bowl talk.
Back. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, which I believe is being played when?
Sunday.
Yes, this Sunday in Minneapolis, where it's 4 degrees and people are freezing their butts off and probably paid way too much money to go to the Super Bowl. But if you're up there, God bless you. I'm not going. Not that I could if I wanted to, but I'm definitely not going. But
maybe next year we'll have some credentials from our podcast here, and we can go to the Super Bowl.
I'm sure that they will give us credentials from all this serious, in-depth sports talk we've been having here.
Listen, if I had credentials this year, I would sell them, but that's just me.
All right, we'll be right back. In honor of Minnesota, we are going to play a little Prince. All right, due to silly laws, we're not allowed to play a whole lot of that song. But it's just good to see Prince back on Spotify. There will be a Prince tribute, I believe, at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Prince who? Prince Albert?
Prince Albert. Oh, yes. I'm actually very excited about the...
You're a Prince Albert?
Prince. I'm a big Prince fan, actually. I really like Prince. I think Prince was very talented. Hate to see him go. A lot of good artists lost in the last year or so, though. But speaking of the Super Bowl... I have been wrong in just about all my picks. You have too. Yeah.
Wrong, but right in other ways. So, you know.
Yes, you're always right.
Wrong, but still right. That's how I like to be.
You were learning from the president. He is giving you an education in avoiding accountability.
Trump University.
Always being right.
I saved a lot of money. I didn't even have to go to Trump University.
Right? I know you wanted to. You just couldn't get in. He was actually rejected. He was rejected from Trump University. So who you got this week? Who do you think is going to take the
well, who do I have or who do I want to win?
The Lombardi Trophy.
Or who do I want?
I'll give me first who do you think will win?
The effing Patriots.
The effing Patriots. And why is that?
Because they're the effing Patriots and Philadelphia is not that great of a team, and by default, that means New England Patriots will win the Super Bowl.
You think New England is a great team?
No. I just think that they have Bill Belichick, they have Tom Brady, and given the fact that it's just an average Eagle team.
What?
An
average 12-3 team?
Yes. Well, with Nick Foles as quarterback, they're an average team.
Well, he has the highest passer rating in the playoffs.
Nick Foles versus Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I don't think the teams are that much different, but you have Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and you have on the other side a second-year coach, I think, and Nick Foles. So I just don't see how
you're leaving out the biggest factor, and that is that Philly defense. That Philly defense is one of the best in the NFL, definitely the best defensive line in the NFL. They're going to be in the backfield all day. So if Tom Brady can't get the ball out fast, and if the Eagles are able to play good man-to-man coverage and stop the short stuff, right, it's a big if. It's a big if, because you better believe the Patriots are going to be prepared. They're going to be ready. They're going to have a good game plan, and in the first quarter, if they don't catch the Eagles off their game, if they don't come out and surprise the Eagles, then they will make adjustments at halftime that will surprise the Eagles.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, look at last year's Super Bowl. You know, what are they down? 35-7 or something ridiculous?
28-3. 28-3. Yeah.
I mean, they were done.
Yeah,
and they came back, and so even and then even the last game, I think they got down. Who were they playing? Who they beat? It's been so long now.
Atlanta.
No.
Last week they played Jacksonville.
Yeah, so I mean, they got down to Jacksonville, and they still, you know, and that's the thing. Like Jacksonville supposedly had the best defense in the AFC, and second half of the game, Tom Brady just started picking them apart.
I think that they do have the best defense in the AFC, but I think the Eagles have a better defense, and it's the best defense in the NFC. And I think that's really what's going to come down to is pressure. I don't think Brady's going to be able to be mobile enough to do what he likes to do. I don't think that nice little pocket's going to form for him every time to give him that 3 seconds he needs. There's just so much ability. I think he's going to get picked off about 3 times. I think he's going to lose his cool. I think it's going to come down to like one of those giant Super Bowls. I think late in the game, Nick Foles is going to make the plays he needs to make, and I think the Eagles are going to pull off the big upset.
Well, that is a bold prediction. Well, I don't know about bold, but it's going out there because I just think that I don't think Tom Brady needs a whole lot of time to throw the ball. They've pretty much kind of cornered the market on quick passes and everything like that. You know, even when the Bucs, you know, it was like, all right, how do we get pressure? But even if you try to bring extra pressure, you know, you're blitzing and now you're leaving extra people open.
Well, the advantage that teams like the Eagles and the two Giants teams that beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, the advantages that both of those teams had was they could blitz their front four and still stay in the same coverage and get pressure with their front four without having to bring linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks in to blitz. So if they can bring 4 and get pressure and then every now and then sneak somebody up and put them through the gap too, then Brady's going to have a hard time seeing where it's coming from. And that's I think, what the difference, because those two Giants teams with Eli Manning that beat the Patriots were big underdogs. And one of them was a huge underdog because I don't know if you remember the year that the Patriots were undefeated and played in the Super Bowl and lost. And I think they were like 20-point favorites in the Super Bowl and lost. So that was the head catch.
Yeah. Anything's possible, but I just think that Belichick and Brady are enough to put this Super Bowl in the bag for them.
Well, we had lunch today. I had a Philly waitress who asked us about the game, and
she also asked if you were putting THC in your iced tea,
which I was not. It's called stevia, and it is a natural sweetener that I put in there. But she did ask me that. Like, how weird is it that she asked me that?
I'm not sure. I mean,
dude,
look, if I had
are
a
you
bottle,
putting weed in your tea?
If I had a bottle of THC, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't just leave it out on the table and start dropping it in my drink.
How fun would that lunch have been? Like the conversation with you would have been enjoyable.
Yeah, it could have been. We would have talked about some fun stuff.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't like Philly fans. I'm going to come out and say it. I don't like the base.
That's not
Philly
what you
fans.
said to her.
You
were acting as though you loved Philly fans. I want to give you Eskimo kisses.
I would have given that girl an Eskimo kiss or two. She would. I told her that they were passionate.
See, I don't change my spots around different people. I told her I don't like Philly fans.
I don't recall you saying that.
I said, well, that's because you were too busy giving imaginary Eskimo kisses.
I was not giving Eskimo kisses, and I was not drinking THC. I think that both of you have lost your mind. I believe Dan said...
I didn't say you were... I said the waitress
I believe Dan said, and make sure you put the wings on top of the tater tots.
That was a few times before.
Yeah.
That wasn't this time.
When you yelled at the server...
That is not true.
And this is the reason you yelled at...
There was no yelling.
He sent the food back.
There was no yelling.
He sent the food back because the tater tots were not used as a bed... for his sloppy, boneless chicken
that's
wings.
right. And anybody who is listening, the one person who might be listening, who hears this, would understand that if you're getting boneless wings, you want that sauce. You want that sauce on the tater tots. Then you add the blue cheese, which I don't eat anymore. But we did go to Abe's, and I really, really wanted those boneless wings and tater tots today.
They do have good boneless wings and tater tots, but I'm not going to give any plugs to that place until they start doing some team trivia in there. That's what they need over there.
That's like, instead of calling the Super Bowl the big game.
I'm actually boycotting the NFL since those players had the audacity to protest police brutality. I am now watching the XFL. I'm an XFL fan.
That's right, Jim McMahon.
I don't think it's Jim McMahon. I think it's Vince McMahon. But Jim McMahon might
be a player.
He might be a player. Yeah. That's probably
maybe an owner.
That's probably the talent level that they want to find.
If you can remember how to, I hear he's got some concussion issues, so that might not be so.
Yeah, he wasn't the brightest bulb in the first place. Hey, he won a Super Bowl though. Who's the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl?
Trent Dilfer.
I think that's a damn good answer. I think that's a really good answer. Who's second?
Eli Manning?
No, he's got two.
I'm kidding. Flacco. Probably
He's
Flacco.
Got two.
He's terrible, though.
Joe Flacco is not terrible.
Brad Johnson was not
Flacco's
that bad.
Brad
Johnson is not the second worst. He was actually a pretty decent quarterback. He actually had some nice years in his career, threw for a lot of yards in his career.
Joe Flacco is much better than Brad Johnson, dude. He's went to some Super Bowls and won some Super Bowls with some teams that weren't that great.
People talk. He had like unbelievable defenses most of the time, though.
He's had good defenses. You say Brad Johnson didn't have a good defense?
He had an okay defense.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. That Bucs defense might have been the second or third best defense ever.
Yeah, but it was sour. It had Warren Sapp. He's a dingleberry. Trying to keep it.
That doesn't matter what your personal view of him is. He was an excellent.
No, he's
player.
literally a dingleberry.
He was an excellent player. Well, you had an interview with him, and just because I know you're mad because he wouldn't talk to me.
No, I'm not.
But you don't have to fight that much for me, man.
That's everybody. No one wants to talk to you.
Well, you
unless you were.
You are right now.
Now, maybe if you gave more Eskimo kisses, these people would.
Eskimo kisses. Actually, I think there's a song called Eskimo.
Maybe that could be your new nickname. Kris Eskimo Kiss Parker. Now entering the game.
The
Kris
Edmonton Eskimo
Kiss Parker.
Eskimos. I want to see if there's any song.
Ooh, that Eskimo kiss off the glass.
Yeah, that's actually good. Oh, there is a song by the Kooks called Eskimo Kisses. So we're going to let the Kooks play us out tonight with Eskimo Kisses. I hope everyone has a fantastic Super Bowl weekend. If you get a chance...
Never mind. You said
tell your boss you need off on Monday because you're going to be drinking a lot of booze on Sunday. And right now is the time to tell him because it is almost 5 o'clock. And
her. Don't be so sexist.
I was getting ready to say that. Right.
See, this is what happens. Left. They're so pigeonholed into this male-dominated world of theirs.
I agree. That was sexist. I'm going to ask God for forgiveness when we get off the air.
Put your panties on your head when you're done.
If you haven't tried Eskimo Kisses, give them a chance this weekend. They're a lot of fun. Do it at the Super Bowl. I think you'll like it. But this is the Kooks with Eskimo Kisses.
Peace out.
You want to rub noses, Dan?
N-O.